Okay. All right, are we good now? Jesus Christ. When it rains, it pours. All right, now it looks like we're live both on YouTube and on Twitch. Cool. I'm just going to wait for a few people to trickle in. We were good on Twitch, but then I had some technical difficulties that made me restart the stream. Because first it was YouTube not working, just not receiving the data at all. Like, at all. I had to, like, close a shit ton of other stuff out. And then it was the webcam not working, and I had to restart OBS like a handful of times. Me. All right, so two people watching on YouTube. Trying out a new format, guys, for review. Please let me know in the comments how this goes, how this whole live streaming thing goes. You'll notice in the corners it says live review because we're doing a live review. Down on the is this you're right, yeah, the right bottom corner, pretty much my links. So it's pretty much Darkspire David all across the board. Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. And then on the left bottom corner is my Twitch follower goal. I'm reaching for a goal of 50 followers on Twitch. I'm currently sitting at 19, which is not too bad. But I mean, come on, we gotta get it up, guys. All right, so like I said, I'm gonna wait for a few more people to slide right in. I guess I'll give it another 5 minutes. I know I am late. I posted a couple of bits on Twitter and on YouTube saying that I was gonna be live at 1 uh Pacific time, 1 p.m. Pacific time, and now it's 1:40 because of course, it's not a live stream. You're not a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer if you don't suffer from some technical difficulties. What's kind of cool though is that the camera quality is really not too bad, and I'm actually using a webcam. I'm not even using the not even using the camera I usually use, my Sony Alpha mirrorless camera. I'm not using that. So I think it's kind of cool that the webcam right now is actually giving me the same exact kind of quality. It's insane. So far we have one viewer on Twitch. Hello. So that's my dashboard. How do I check on my other stuff? Oh, here we go. Cool. I can actually see myself on my thing here. Well, and I'm on my phone here. It looks like there's a little bit of a delay. Yeah. But you can see I'm right there. And I froze. All right. Let me know whoever is on either platform, either on Twitch or on YouTube. How's the strength of the stream? So far, my systems are showing that it's fine. But I don't know what's what. Oh God, I got an ad. All right, 1:45 for sure. I'm gonna start. That way, for people who want to tune in at a later time, they can come back, watch this, and kind of skim through it at their leisure. All right, so we got 2 on YouTube, 3 people watching on Twitch, I think, or 4 people. Also, I'll mention this again occasionally in the stream, but if I apologize in advance if ever so often I'm going, I am sick. I do have a cold. It's annoying as hell. But you know, I gotta persevere. Can't let it keep me down. I don't even feel that bad. It's just annoying that the throat is sounding like it does. But I said I was gonna do the stream now, and I kind of have to do the stream now because, for those of you who don't know, I do work at Best Buy, and you know that tomorrow is Thanksgiving, aka Black Friday, even though it's not really Black Friday. Black Friday is Black Friday, but tomorrow is when the deals start because every year, literally, they've been scooting it back. So starting tomorrow all the way till what you call it, probably Sunday, I'm gonna be busy. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be nothing but work. So I know that literally today is the only day I'll be able to do something like this. For the couple of people watching on YouTube, if you guys have guys or girls, have a Twitch account, follow me on Twitch. I'm live streaming over there too right now. But I could definitely use a stronger followership on Twitch, cause I'm just trying to make it a little bit better over there. Especially if in the future that could be my platform of choice instead of YouTube. I'm just, you know, throwing things at the wall right now and seeing exactly what sticks. Alright, yeah, next week's schedule's still not up then. Can't believe in a couple, literally less than 2 weeks, it's gonna be December already. I can't tell. I can't tell if I have 2 viewers or 3 viewers on Twitch, cause I got 2 pages telling me this different things. Let's go to restream here. See what that tells me. All right, right now restream is excuse me. Restream is telling me that there's 2 people watching on YouTube, 3 people watching on Twitch. Okay then. It's 1:45. I guess I should probably just get started. These are the people that are going to be watching, so might as well keep it as is. Then again, maybe it's a whole delay thing again. Maybe Twitch is on a delay. Okay, so let's get started here. So in case you guys couldn't already tell from the titles, from some of the promotion the past couple days, or if there even was considered a promotion, but this is the live, something that I'm starting, well, not necessarily starting, but experimenting with, a live review. I've never done this before. Now, this is going to be a bit of a challenging, review to do, because for one thing, it's live. I'm literally talking out of my ass to try to really translate how I felt about Red Dead Redemption 2, because my first ever live review is going to be on, as you can tell, Red Dead Redemption 2, the game. I finally beat it after pouring a good... Oh, there goes my mouse, and there goes my mic. See, everything goes wrong in the first live stream. You only learn through complete and utter failure, which I'm really good at because God hates me. Okay. Alright. So, as I was saying, I'm going to make sure that I'm in good framing here. I finally beat Red Dead Redemption 2 after pouring a good, I want to say about 80 hours into it. There's no exact timer, there's no exact like little counter that lets you know how long you've been playing the game, but so far from what I could tell, I played 80 hours into it. What's funny is that I originally intended to do a live stream of me beating the game on camera or on stream, with the ending and everything like that, but the ending is rather unconventional. It takes some twists and turns that I'm like, and there's no real way to know. Oh, my marker's over here. My cursor, I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's go over here. Let's see how everything's going. Okay. So, it ends in a way that's different, that I was like, this is too big of a twist, too big of a turn on both the story and the gameplay that I can't do this on a live stream. That, and I stumbled upon it accidentally, actually. I did a story mission, and then it literally automatically jumped me into the ending, and I wasn't on stream, and I was just like, fuck it, and I just proceeded to go on through and just did it. So I ended up wrapping the game over the weekend, and then on Monday, no, not yesterday, so on Monday was my last day playing the game, where I just did a bunch of side missions. I explored the countryside. I tried to digest or consume as much of the game as I possibly could, apart from the story. And that's when I did like an extra bonus live stream, actually, both here on YouTube and on Twitch, where I just did a bunch of side missions. I know that I didn't exactly encounter everything. There was one particular side mission that I didn't finish. There were a couple of other encounters that I didn't get to do. There was one particular encounter, and I'm sorry if you guys can hear the phone ringing, but the phone ring is in the living room, so I'm sorry about that. But there was one encounter that I really wanted to do, because I saw some people post about it on YouTube with like the thumbnails and stuff like that. By the way, I feel very, very sorry if you guys were planning on playing Red Dead Redemption 2. There's not going to be any spoilers in this live cast. I probably should have mentioned that in this live review. There's not going to be any spoilers because I'm reviewing the game as a whole. A spoiler cast might follow in the coming days. I just don't know if that's going to happen because, again, I'm going to be busy with Black Friday because I work in retail. And also because, a couple of other reasons. One of them is going to be that I'm busy. Two, I'm sick, so my throat's, not doing too well. It's not doing too badly, but if you can't already tell, I'm a little raspy. I'm a little like that, and that's taking the wind out of me a little bit. Besides that, I'm fine, but it's just more annoying than anything else, especially because I make videos. On top of that, I want to see if I can sneak in at least a little bit of Fallout 76. I actually I rented Fallout 76 from GameFly. I installed the patch. I did everything, so I'm actually ready to roll on that one. So I'm not sure if I might actually jump into that after this stream, so who knows. But yeah, that's why it might be a while off. But I feel sorry for some folks that didn't play Red Dead 2 in time, because I think around this time everybody else is beating it just like I did, and those spoiler videos are starting to flow into YouTube right now, where if you look up a trailer for Red Dead 2, or if you watch some gameplay footage of Red Dead 2 from somebody, from me, from any other YouTuber, immediately your recommended page is gonna have a bunch of spoilery stuff from Red Dead, and it's fucking annoying how YouTube just handles that. They need to fix that. Let's see. So far, still only 2 viewers on each platform. Well, Restream is telling me that there's 3 people watching on Twitch. Then again, one of those people might just be me. Let me see if I close the channel page and just keep it on the dashboard page if that changes. Or maybe there's just no update on that. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so far everything is still new. No, don't switch. Oh, you know what? Switch device. Yeah, fuck it. Talking to Discord, sorry. Okay. Looks like on my Discord channel, I'm the only one that's live. Okay. Going back, so that was my introduction to my first ever live review of Red Dead Redemption 2 after finally beating it. So if you guys don't know what Red Dead Redemption 2 is all about, it pretty much it does something that we weren't really expecting up until like the last well, not the last couple of trailers, but once we got a full-blown trailer, not the teaser trailer, but the full-blown trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 is when we finally got the gist that this was actually going to be a prequel. So it's called 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's actually a prequel to the original Red Dead because it features characters that you know are no longer around after the end of Red Dead 1, and also certain fates and certain characters kind of come into play where you're just like, huh, this all kind of, forms everything back together. And yeah, it's pretty much a prequel that tells the story, or rather the downfall of the Dutch van der Linde gang, headed up by Dutch van der Linde. And your main character is Arthur Morgan, a character that wasn't really talked about that much in the original Red Dead. As far as I can remember, I might have to replay that. In fact, this game did give me the incentive to want to replay the original Red Dead, because the fact that it's a prequel, it gave some brand new meaning to certain things that happened in the original Red Dead, that now that when you played it, you kind of overlooked it, and now it's like going back to it like, huh, so that's what that meant. That's what those little clues meant, and that's kind of cool. But the story of Red Dead 2 is a prequel centering around a character, Arthur Morgan, which is kind of like, it serves as both his own character and also as a cipher for the audience or the player to kind of figure out what happened to that original gang that John Marston used to be a part of before the events of Red Dead 1. And yeah, the story is terrific from a writing standpoint here in Red Dead 2. I mean, nothing hasn't already been, if you've already heard some other reviewers talk about it in IGN, GameSpot, etc., etc., yeah, what they've been saying is pretty much on point, where the story for Red Dead 2 is amazing. Now, it's amazing from a writing standpoint, where you kind of decrypt certain characters, you figure out their motives, you figure out how they play, and also the way they're able to pace things. Like I said, from a writing standpoint, like there's certain things where they could easily have been predictable, but the fact that it's a 60-hour game, I can tell you one thing: this would not have worked as a movie. 100%, this would not have worked as a movie. As a TV show, maybe, episodically, maybe, but being that they were able to stretch it across 60 hours, and kind of pace themselves over certain things with certain characters and how they change over time, both physically and mentally, whether it be Arthur Morgan, your protagonist, where initially I didn't really like him. I thought I was like, okay, you got nothing on Jordan Marston. Jordan Marston is still the champ when it comes to Rockstar protagonists. But then over time, I just could not think of leaving this game and not having to play as Arthur Morgan anymore. And he grew on me. And truth be told, I think over time, he really molded himself into a protagonist that I genuinely love, that I think stands toe to toe with John Marston. Even if at times his character, or at least the way he was voiced by, I think his name is Roger Clark, the voice actor, at times, at least early on, felt a little parody, just a tiny bit. Like he didn't feel like I don't want to say he felt it was to the point of ridiculousness, but he just felt like your typical cowboy sounding person. Like, it gave us the money, we need to get more money. He just has that cowboy swagger. And initially, I'm not gonna say it bothered me, but it just kind of like felt like, yeah, it sounds like a typical cowboy. But then over time, he just kind of grew into his own, especially where he starts to realize certain things about himself, like I said, both physically and mentally, and I guess he gives meaning to the word redemption in the title, Red Dead Redemption. It always kind of comes full circle there. Along with that, I think Rockstar has developed an amazing villain on their hands that I almost don't even want to call him a villain. I want to call him just a straight up antagonist, because the definition of an antagonist is supposed to be that of a character that is the mere opposite of the protagonist. Doesn't necessarily need to be the villain. It could just be like, oh, this is the guy that's going to be going up against the protagonist, but he's not necessarily on uneven ground with the protagonist. Like, he could be in a similar ideology or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that Dutch is now officially one of my favorite Rockstar characters, more so than even some of the characters in Grand Theft Auto 4 or Grand Theft Auto 5. And that's thanks to this game, because I remember him being in Red Dead 1, but I never really remember that much about him in Red Dead 1. All I know is that he was one of the villains. He was one of the guys that I had to hunt down as John Marston. Here in this game, however, like I said, just like the game's story was able to give certain events that were mentioned or kind of overlooked in the original Red Dead, this game just fleshes them out even more. And one of the big things that it fleshes out is the character of Dutch, and how amazing of a villain, or amazing of an antagonist he really is, where you see the way that he is at the beginning, and then you see the way he is at the end, and it's just treated so meticulously. It reminded me, I know this is a very tired out comparison, but it reminded me an awful lot of Walter White from Breaking Bad. Like the way that character just kind of spirals into a descent is just a very wonderful and interesting character study, and they were able to do the exact same thing, I guess you could say, for both Arthur and for Dutch. And also a plethora of all the other side characters. Not as much as they did with Arthur or for Dutch, but other side characters like members of the gang, from like characters that you really grew to love, like Hosea, Pearson, Charles, so many of the side characters that make up this gang is just very memorable. Except for Micah, fuck Micah. I think everybody can universally say fuck Micah. Micah, it joins the plethora of hateable characters from Rockstar's pantheon of characters, right up there with the annoying wife from GTA 5. I know there's a couple of people from GTA 4 that I think a lot of people can mention, or Red Dead 1, like Ross and all of them. There's always got to be that one character that you look at and go away, please, just fuck off. Yeah, just don't. And Micah's is one of those characters, but they're needed. They're integral to the story, and almost every piece of the story in this game is integral to what the message that it's trying to deliver, and the payoff that's trying to give you at the end, where certain things just kind of come to light, and you're like, oh, that's why the game was being kind of slow at times, which I will admit is one of the detriments to the game of how they were able to craft it with such care, is that, yeah, they were able to treat everything with care, including the aesthetic and including the time period that we're in, where it's not like GTA. They can't just right out be like, oh yeah, it's GTA with horses, which is, I think, everybody's initial interpretation of the original Red Dead was, whether it's going to be like, oh, it's Red Dead with horses and guns, or the Old West aesthetic. And it really wasn't. Yeah, although the original Red Dead did skew more towards that than this one does, because the original Red Dead, I think, started with like a gang shootout where John gets shot, and that kind of propels him into the story, and how he wants to hunt down all these bad guys he used to call friends, and etc. This game is way, way, way slower in pacing. But they do it for a purpose. They do it for a reason to give you a payoff where you're just like, oh, that's why we were doing all this. That's why when certain things happen to certain characters, both positively and negatively, you're like, oh shit, that's why we were doing this entire time. We got 4 people watching on YouTube right now. Hello, guys. How's it going? Sound off if you're watching, please. Post in the comments. You guys watching right now? And if you are and you have a Twitch account, go follow me on Twitch. I'm streaming on Twitch simultaneously right now. So if you go on Twitch, you'll see me that I'm streaming right there too. And also give me a follow there. All right. But anyways, I'm currently talking about the story for Red Dead, which, like I said, it could be kind of slow at times. I mean, there's been some arguments made that it's kind of boring at times where they're making you do some tedious things. Keep in mind, GTA 5 had its own fair share of slow moments. I mean, many of us remember that one mission where you played as Trevor, the most crazy of the bunch, and you have to be disguised as a construction worker, and you have to go around and move crates and put them in the corresponding spots, and after a while, you're just like, when are we going to get to, like, shooting or doing something kind of crazy? And I will admit, Red Dead 2 has more of those moments, but they struck a wonderful balance where, yeah, you have slow moments, but there's payoff, whether it be in the story or at least in the aesthetic, where the environment and the attention to the detail of the level of immersion you get in this game, where you're just, I want to say driving, but you're horsebacking across the countryside, and you ride into town, and there's a couple of people that acknowledge you, and because of the last story mission that you did, those people, those NPCs, they actually react to you in a way that they didn't react to a couple hours back prior to that story mission. And just the way that they were able to put that level of immersion in this game is just like, how is this possible? What kind of algorithm did Rockstar create to come up with something like this? And it's ridiculous in a good way, but it's ridiculous the level of immersion that this game rewards you with the amount of slow times that they had. So if you are still in the process of playing this game and you're probably at a point in the story where you're thinking, man, this thing is going slow, trust me, it turns on you. It turns on you in both in a heartbreaking way and in a very rewarding way, where you're just like, fuck yeah, this is what we were all leading up to. And I mentioned heartbreaking. There's moments of heartbreak where I thought that characters were safe, and the game lets you know, oh, you thought you was safe from heartbreak? Well, here you go. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's telegraphed, but you should be knowing that going in, considering that this is the prequel leading up to the events that are going to happen in the original Red Dead. But because they were able to make these characters likable despite being outlaws, and the dialogue they were able to give them that's very quotable and very catchy and earwormy, is just a way to kind of give everything the care that it deserves, from the writing, from the character development, from the story pacing, even if at times, like I said, it feels tediously slow, but you know that there's a purpose behind it all. You never feel like, oh, this is just dragging on, what the hell, I'm just going to skip this. I guess the only facet of the game where I can see why you would want to skip is maybe during some parts of the story or parts of the side quests where you have to do some fishing. And I know that fishing is not exactly for everybody. But even then, the game manages to incorporate some mechanics that makes that fishing somewhat challenging and somewhat intriguing. But I can definitely see why you would want to just quit right out of that. So that's really about the story, the aspect of the story that I really enjoyed. I guess if I were to come up with any real nitpicks about the story besides the slow parts, but even then they would have some payoff, it would be that maybe at times some characters started to recycle some of their methods or some of their ideologies. He's become a meme at this point, but how many times did Dutch keep saying, I have a plan, we just need money so that we can disappear? I love the voice actor. That voice never gets old. I can listen to it all day. And again, the way that they were able to develop Dutch is just tremendously awesome. The way they were able to write him, it's almost lightning in the bottle. The way that they were able to do a prequel justice, because whenever people do a prequel, whether it be in a book or in a movie, or I dare say in a video game, but mostly a movie, I think it's mostly in the movie realm where Hollywood just goes kind of prequel crazy. We just had one, Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald, where it's supposed to be leading up to certain stories that transpired in Potter mythology, leading up to the rise of Voldemort, and that leading into the story of Harry and how he was the boy who lived. There were certain things that they did in that movie that they were just trying to tie a little bit too much to that original, that I just kind of got muddled. But then again, you keep in mind that that's a 2 hour and 15-minute movie. Because of Red Dead being a 60-hour game, that's 30 times longer or more than that initial movie. They were able to flesh out certain seeds that they planted in the story to make these characters much more three-dimensional, and it made me legitimately want to revisit Red Dead 1, because now it gives certain things that John mentioned about his past brand new context, and I don't think I'll be able to look at the original Red Dead the same way again. And I know I went in a little bit of a tangent, but going back to that nitpick, it would be that maybe towards the end I was getting kind of tired of hearing Dutch saying that he had a plan and that he needed money, and Micah saying, that we got to survive, we got to leave him, he's just his same thing over and over. And again, like I said, not so much at the end, but more so towards the beginning, where Arthur's if Dutch's go-to line was, "We need money, I have a plan," Arthur's was, "I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I'll do what I can. I'll see what I can do." It's that same line over and over in almost every quest, whether it be in the story or in the side quests. But he would say the exact same line over and over. "I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do." And that was pretty much his go-to ideology. But besides that, just from a writing standpoint, congratulations to Danhauser and whoever else wrote the script for this and the dialogue, because the work was well paid off. And again, the way that they were able to incorporate the story into the level of immersion that you get from this game is just tremendously beautiful. And man, I mentioned this in my review in progress, and it still stands. It still stands to this day now. After finally 100%ing the story of this game, this is probably the most beautiful game of the year. I know we had Spider-Man. I know we had God of War. And I know that there's other outings out there where people can get all, advanced with the ray tracing of the new NVIDIA graphics chip and all that shit. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is so far the biggest technological marvel we have on consoles so far this year. More so than God of War, more so than Spider-Man. I'm sorry, but I gotta give it to Red Dead. So many shots in this game. Whether it's just me, and initially I wanted to complain about the difficulty of trying to get fast travel working in this game, where you either fast travel through going to the nearest city or the nearest town and going into the stagecoach, and that way you can jump from city to city through there, but you have to pay money for that. Or you buy and you have to actually have to buy the fast travel map to go back to your cabin or to your whereabouts, and that's where you have your map, and that's how you're able to fast travel. And you have more options to fast travel there, whether it's outside of the cities. You can actually go to like different camps and lookouts and little areas of points of interest that you can actually fast travel to. But I think there's a reason for why they made fast travel a little bit more difficult here than they did in any other game before, even the original Red Dead, and that's because they want you to appreciate the amount of hard work they put into the actual look of this game. And I guess it's kind of warranted, because more often than not, I found myself just, going across the landscape, whether it be in the snowy mountains up in the north or the very swampy and humid feeling areas of the south down by the bayou. It's just beautiful, especially when the weather would get kind of nasty, which is ironic because the weather would get nasty. It would get a regular day, night, foggy, cloudy, and sunny cycle throughout this game. And every chance that happened, I was loving it, because the amount of detail they put into the fog effects, into the lighting effects, and of course the sound. Oh my god, I feel bad for whoever did Foley for this game, because I I would just feel so good. It was some kind of ASMR type thing going on, where every time the horse would trot across a wooden bridge, or Arthur would go inside of a house and he would have to open every single drawer to investigate a certain clue or do something, and he would have to like rummage through the belongings of somebody. Every little sound effect of a cloth or a wooden panel or a plate down on the ground or a boot just sounded just so good. I know it sounds really kind of freaky, but I mean it's the truth. It really sounded really really great there in the sound department. And I truly love this score. I would not be surprised if later on down the line I end up downloading the score for this game. Well, I guess I'll just call it a soundtrack, because it's a combination of, well, the majority of it, I would say about 70-75% of it is actual score, just like you had in the original Red Dead. But they were able to come up with themes and motifs and little beats that just never get old, that I'm constantly just subconsciously humming to myself every time I would finish playing the game. And then occasionally they would actually pop in the occasional folkloric or country sounding or very hillbilly-ish type song, but it never sounded bad. It never sounded like the songs they were actually able to put into this game never sounded too over the top, too corny, too country, too like cowboy yeehaw type of thing. No, it always sounded right. And the soundtrack placement of this game, kudos to Laszlo, kudos to whoever else was involved in the sound department. It always sounded great there from that particular standpoint. Let me take a while here to catch my breath. Let me check who else is watching. It's mostly nobody. There's one person watching on Twitch. A couple people watching on YouTube. Again, guys, don't be afraid to post comments. Wow. Sorry, I just saw something on Discord. I would jump on this chat here on Discord, but I think it has audio here. Okay. So where was I? So story-wise, great, minus a few nitpicks. The presentation, the technical levels of this game is just like, this game should not exist. And even if it does, smoke should be coming out of my console because it's just how huge this world is, how immersive it is, where almost every living thing in this world interacts with you in some kind of way, whether it be the townsfolk, like I said, acknowledging you, acknowledging the way you look, whether you're dirty or you're grimy or something's going on with you. If you've played through a good chunk of the game, you know what I'm talking about. And also the wildlife, like it never feels repetitive. It never feels like, oh, they just put, like, oh, that deer looks just like that other deer, or it's moving exactly like that other deer. They all, like, it all reacts like if I'm actually there. I don't know, it sounds like I'm just going off on a tangent here saying, oh, how amazing it is, but it really is. It really is like they spent the past 8 years, 7 years or so, ever since the first one, tracking down or doing some research as to how deer behave, how moose behave, how alligators behave, to try to put them into this game as seamlessly and as integrated as they possibly could. And so it's ridiculous how the amount of detail they were actually able to do here. Now, as big as the world is, you know that the bigger and more immaculate and more immersive a world like this can be, the more prone to glitches it's going to be. And yes, it did happen to me occasionally. I think one time I captured it on a I think I did a live stream. Yeah. I think I did a live stream, and I was jacking somebody's, well, I threw somebody down from their horse. And what's up, Alex? 21 Ginger. How's it going? I think I was jacking somebody's, belongings because I had to. It was part of a side story. And I threw him off his horse, and then I don't know what happened, but Arthur bumped off the horse, and he went into a T pose. He went into a T pose, and he's stuck there. And the guy who I threw off his horse, he got up and he started shooting me. But Arthur was still stuck in his T pose, and he was like, like getting shot. And I'm like, dude, move. And finally, he got like nudged by the horse, and that kind of snapped him out of it. And I was able to get out of there, or at least shoot the guy down, or incapacitate him. But yeah, I got a T pose Arthur. It's something happened. I don't know what happened. And I think one time also I was trying to skin an animal and I fell through the world for a few seconds before thankfully he landed safely behind his feet. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't get a dead he didn't die and I didn't get a game over screen. What else? Oh, there was one instance that was hilarious. I actually captured it and maybe I'll upload it separately. Unfortunately, I was not doing a live feed. I was not streaming. I wasn't on mic. But I did immediately hit the share button on the PS4 to capture and make sure that it was still in there. But one time, it's kind of a spoilery bit, but one of the side characters got injured, and we were on the way to go and get him recuperated. On the way there, they had some dialogue. Like every Rockstar game, whenever you're traversing the world in between story missions or inside of a story mission, characters are going to be talking to each other. So be sure to try not to interrupt that, kind of like how I did, because apparently, and the game didn't tell me to do it, but I needed to go at a slow pace. But I kept rushing, so every time I rushed, I would go faster than the person behind me on their horse, and because of the stretch of distance between us, and because of how realistic the game is trying to be in its sense of immersion and experience, they have to yell at each other. So that would mean that their initial room voice discussion would have to be interrupted, and they would have to stop and start yelling at each other. They would have to start yelling at each other, and for some reason that caused the glitch to where the characters were like, okay, where was I? Oh yeah. And they would like say the same piece of dialogue like 5 times, and in between each part that they would repeat themselves, they would say, where was I? Oh yeah, where was I? And sometimes they would change from talking to saying the same line at room volume. Did I say room temperature earlier? Sorry, like I said, I'm a little bit sick, so I'm just trying to like get my thoughts together. But they would say a certain line at room volume, and then when I would go further, they would say the exact same line but at a yelling volume, and it would crack me up. So like I said, I'll hopefully post it on YouTube or on Twitch or something. Probably on YouTube. On a separate occasion. I did capture it, but I was bending over. I was on the verge of tears laughing. But unfortunately I was not on mic when that happened. Stephen Bailey, have you finished the game? I'm still going at it. Yes, I have finished it. I 100%ed the story. Hell no, I'm not 100% in the game. I'll tell you that right now. I am not 100% in the game. There's just too much. Especially when some of the characters are telling me to collect like fossils and feathers and stuff like that. Very numeric stuff that I'm just like, nope, nope, I am not doing that. I'm sorry, but I am not doing that. I guess I could use this as a segue into that gameplay, which you can definitely not knock down Rockstar for not having variety in their games, because almost every story mission is going to be varied, even if the core gameplay is going to be the same, whether it be riding on horseback, of course shooting, climbing, maybe driving wagons, stuff like that. But it's the fact that they're able to take every small little human motion of running, jumping, shooting, climbing, stuff like that. Rockstar's able to take all of that and just kind of tailor it to almost every specific side quest, either every specific mission, whether it be inside of the story with the yellow missions that are on the map, which are the main story missions, or the side activities, which are the white ones with the question mark, like Steven just mentioned. So much side activities. There's just so much to do. Whether it be just rudimentary side activities, like throwing darts or playing poker or blackjack, or even some mundane stuff that the game still puts in there, and was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like shoveling cow shit. Yeah, at some point you will have to do that. Shoveling stuff like that. Some occasional herding and farming stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy just how much side stuff there is to do in this game. And of course, some other stuff that I think, caters more to the gamer and so many of us, which is, of course, to hunt down wild animals, whether it be the traditional wild animals, so that you can then craft certain stuff from their materials, like the meat, the pelts, the skin, etc., or hunting down legendary animals, so you can get some crazy goodies from them. At first, the idea of almost no fast travel in the beginning was bad. Yeah, it was bugging me too. But then you get some form of fast travel, but it's like Rockstar, you just really want you to explore the entire game world. Yeah, precisely. And there were a couple of times where that was great because I stumbled across some of my favorite story missions. I'm gonna cross my leg here because I'm getting kind of restless. What was I saying? Uh, that whole exploration thing of Rockstar wanting me to explore the world the way they wanted to because of how limited the fast travel really was. It did reward. Whether it be with the story, with the immersion. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that some of you will bound to come across the lady that just happened to have broken her ankle. Well, not like twisted her ankle because her horse up and died on here. Maybe she's being for real. Maybe she's not. This is the Wild West, and constantly the immersion in this game will remind you how ruthless that Wild West used to be, even when it was dying out back in 1899, where certain things will just be literally savage. Not savage like people say today, savage. No, it was like savage, like you'll see some gruesome stuff, whether it be some stuff that couldn't have been helped from, wild animals, or somebody out there getting kind of crazy. But occasionally I would get rewarded from the immersion of the lack of fast travel, because it's through this that I actually stumbled across my favorite my favorite side activities to do in the original Red Dead, which would be the stranger missions, where you would deviate from the main story, you would stumble across town, and then you would see that little blip on the map with the question mark saying, "Who's this?" And it would occasionally be just some random person that would say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" Or, "Hey, I got this thing going on." And in the original game, it would be John Marston getting himself involved stupidly. Or here, it would be Arthur saying, "Hey, what the hell, I'll give it a shot." And that's what led to some very memorable side missions that I really, really dug. Now, I say memorable within the confines of this game. How do they hold up to the original Red Dead? I gotta be honest, the original Red Dead had more noticeable and memorable side missions that this game had. This game had some cool side missions, some intriguing ones, and some captivating ones, and memorable ones within the game. But compared to the first game, so far they have yet to top the Stranger mission. Because right now they're all called Stranger missions, the ones with the question mark. But in the original Red Dead, they were just called side missions, and there was one called the Stranger. The Stranger. And it involved a man with a mustache and a top hat. And it's arguably the most memorable one. And I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but if you have not played the original Red Dead, then please go back. And if you stumble across this guy, keep doing missions for him, because trust me, the ending, gnarly. Sorry, I'm seeing some comments here. So nobody on Twitch. Kind of makes sense though. On Twitch, no, when people stumble across the stream and they notice that it's just a guy talking in front of the camera, they're like, "Oh, we want to see gameplay. Out of here." But going back to YouTube, Stephen Bailey, since you finished the game, have you noticed that some buildings under construction at the beginning of the game became completed buildings or stores by the end of the game? I did not. Until I saw a YouTube video. Somebody posted a YouTube. I guess, like I said earlier in the review, or earlier in the stream, I think around this time, everybody is almost simultaneously beating Red Dead 2. Reason why I mentioned that is because it is around this time where if you watch a trailer of Red Dead 2 on YouTube, just a simple trailer, like the trailer that came out months ago, or a review for it, or somebody talking about Red Dead in general, you better be careful because instantly your recommended section is going to be flooded with clips from Red Dead 2 that are very likely going to be spoilery. Because it's going to be either snippets of the game, especially during the third act, or comparison videos like what you just mentioned right now, Steven, about certain buildings being under construction at the beginning of the game and now being completed at the end of the game. Again, that just comes to show how much attention to detail Rockstar put into this game. I'm never gonna try this for myself, but I heard that there's even some NPCs that if you were to actually just follow them and watch them, they actually have like a legitimate day-to-day life. I don't know how true that is, or maybe it repeats itself from day to day, but that's crazy that at least within a 24-hour span, the NPC will actually have like a full breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between do some farming activities, etc., etc. That, and apparently, I think somebody posted a video on YouTube. I haven't watched it, so I can't say exactly if this is true. But apparently, if you kill an NPC, and you find a body, and you watch it for like a full 24, 36, 48 hours, you can actually see the body kind of like start to decompose. So, I might be wrong about that. I might be completely wrong about that. But I heard that might be a thing. So yeah, so that's insane. So yeah, I wouldn't have trouble believing it. I wouldn't have trouble believing that those buildings do get finished by the end of the game. Yeah, and like I said, that just goes back to that detail and that level of immersion of how much you get to interact with the actual game, whether it be out in the wilderness or inside of the city. Although one level of immersion I could have done without while I was exploring this game is just how easy it is for my horse to just fuck things up. And I think everybody agrees that, yeah, they were going for a little bit too much realism here, where your horse just fucks everything up every time you just collide into something. Where it's not necessarily feeding into the glitches that I mentioned earlier, but the horse, man, the horse, and it's a specific horse. It's any horse almost in general, especially the horses that you're trying to bond with, because over time you get to bond with horses and develop a strength with them, where they get better stamina, better health, etc., etc. And yeah, horses don't do well in crowded spots. Visiting Saint Denis, one of the metropolitan cities that's modeled after New Orleans from real life, it's just a nightmare to go through on horseback because you are bound to run into somebody, and eventually the game is gonna give you a disturbance of the peace obstruction that's gonna give you a wanted level. Yeah, so. Which is brought back from the original Red Dead, and even you could argue from the GTA games, where, yeah, because you are a outlaw, you can choose to either live as a good outlaw or a bad outlaw that then caters to your honor meter. And your honor meter actually, going back to those comparison videos that I mentioned that you were kind of hinting at, Steven, where they compare certain things from the game, like buildings being under construction, completed at the end of the game. There's even some comparison videos out there about how Arthur approaches certain situations, whether it be in the main story or in the side quests. Even in the side quests, I can't believe it. I mean, I understand if it's in the story, but even in the side quests, the honor meter, the amount of honor you gain or you lose throughout the game, throughout your campaign, affects how Arthur sees certain things inside of the world, whether it be inside of the side quests, the side missions, the story missions, and just the environmental basic interactions he has with occasional people, whether it be blind people, peddling for money down the street, or somebody needing help on the side of the road. The amount of honor that you have or don't have will cater to that. Granted, ever so often they just change a couple of lines of dialogue. They don't really do anything huge, and it's not like a Telltale level of webbing or a Quantum Dream level of webbing where it's like, oh, this thing, affects this other thing here in the future. They just change a couple of lines of dialogue, but overall, it's interesting to see just how much they were able to kind of change around with that honor meter, which does not change if you decide to kill the clan they interact with near Saint Denis. So that was pretty cool. Horse physics, yeah, horse physics, yeah. Just moving around with that horse, it's just a nightmare in Saint Denis. In open country, it's better unless you're around trees, because horses love them trees. Some people have complained about the controls. Do you think there's a little bit wonky, or do you think that it's just Rockstar being a Rockstar and you just have to get used to the controls? Yes, and I know there's a cop-out answer, but yes and no. Actually, I should probably mention that real quick, because I did kind of mention it earlier, where they were able to take everyday mechanics like walking, running, jumping, climbing, and fit that into a character like Arthur that then has to do bank robberies and jumping on stagecoaches and stuff like that, and how every mission just feels different. Every time you jump into a mission, you never know when they're going to change up a mechanic, where it's like all of a sudden, oh, L2 or R2 now does this, even though the core mechanics are still there. With that said, like you mentioned, Steven, yes, thank you for asking great questions, by the way, Steven. If you're not a subscriber already, subscribe, which you might already be. If you don't follow me on Twitch, you got another thing coming, though. No, I'm joking. But if you have a Twitch account, follow me on Twitch. I'm on Twitch, live on Twitch right now. I mean, it's the exact same feed, but yeah, follow me on Twitch if you have a Twitch account. If you don't have a Twitch account, please create one. You will not regret it, because eventually Eventually, I'm thinking about some live streams being exclusive to Twitch, especially some gameplay stuff. So, what else? But those controls, yes, when I first played the first couple of hours, 2-3 hours or so, the mechanics, they were a little difficult to get used to, because I'm so used to the X button being the jump button, but then realizing that the square button was the jump button and the X was to go faster or to sprint, circle button being the melee button, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it was a little weird, especially the triggers. Let me pull out the controller here. The triggers. So usually, like in other games, whether it be in GTA games or the original Red Dead, the L2 would be to aim, and then the R2 would be to just flat out shoot. Now the L2 automatically will just look at somebody, and then you have to press the R2 button to pull out your gun and aim it, and then R2 again to shoot it. That's in the open world. When you actually have your gun equipped, which you have to pull out with L1, that's where the original form of mechanics kind of come back into play, where L2 is just aiming, R2 is just shooting. Anyways, oh me, I can't sing right now, dude. I mentioned this right now. I mentioned it earlier. I am sick, and my throat's kind of killing me right now. It's a little bit sore. That's why I'm a little late like that. Otherwise, so you say you can love me and leave me to die, or spit my. I'm butchering the lyrics, but thank you, Jaden, so much for that. Yes. Wouldn't it be cool if like played Bohemian Rhapsody and then right when it goes just unleash hellfire? That'd be great, but that'll be copyrighted music. It's like if you're playing too much Bloodborne or Dark Souls or Assassin's Creed, and then you go into Red Dead Redemption, it feels as if you run around, you're running in mud and molasses. Yeah, I can feel that at times. There were a couple of moments where I'm trying to jump on my horse or interact with a certain, especially, I guess the most common situations would be when I would try to run into cover. Run into cover, investigate a house or the interior of a house where I have to like open drawers to like look for something, money, etc., items. And then God, what was the third thing I was gonna mention? Fuck. What was the third thing I was gonna mention? Oh, and then jumping onto my horse. Those are the three main things that I had difficulties on with the controls, where, like you mentioned, running in mud and molasses, he would feel like he's like turning around slowly and then finally jumping on the horse. Or I meant to open a certain drawer, and instead he takes something else that was on the other side over here because I'm trying to align him right in front of the item that he actually needs to grab. Yeah, so occasionally the mechanics, I don't want to say that they're wonky, but this is just this is kind of the engine that Rockstar has. Does the engine need a change? But possibly, possibly it does have to be reworked a little bit for the next Rockstar game, whichever that may be. But yeah, it is a Rockstar thing, but I will admit that it is a Rockstar thing that's been there for a little while. That does need to be somewhat tweaked. The mechanics, the controls are not bad, especially because they're constantly changing so much that from that from mission to mission, whether it be in the story or on the side missions, um you know, the mechanics and what the game's telling you to do is just changing. And every so often they bring something back, like the at the towards the beginning of the game you have to load up some dynamite and rig it so that it's set to blow. You do that again later on in the game, but they change up the environment that it's like, okay, so variety is always there. That's constantly, it's like an ever-changing maze, and because of that you can't complain about it too much because it's like, well, the mechanics gonna change anyway. So yeah. uh Looting is so slow. Inside of interior buildings, it is. When I'm looting bodies, not so much. In fact, I enjoy looting bodies. It's a little bit quick, and I love that they added an animation. I don't think I remember seeing this in the original Red Dead or even in GTA 5, but he actually picks up the body, looks inside of the pockets, and actually just drops the body. And just, again, that goes back to that whole level of detail thing. That's just... you know, all those Game of the Year accolades, the amount of work hours they were able to put in, they deserve those Game of the Year accolades, because just how much work that they were able to put into this game is just unreal. But I got my fill. I played 80 hours of it, and like I said, the gameplay, yeah, it is great, and they bring back Deadeye. Deadeye feels a whole lot nicer in this game. Deadeye feels a whole lot nicer in this game than I remember in the original Red Dead, but I don't know if that's just me. Again, I will have to play the original Red Dead, but the Deadeye here, yeah, it's really, really cool. At least when it's not running out, because your core is not up to par. Which brings me back to, I guess, similar to how I mentioned I had nitpicks with the story, where there were certain things that I'm like, okay, I guess this could have been fixed, this could have been better, but it doesn't really ruin the game. It's the course in the gameplay. And before I mention that, Steven, will there be a Red Dead Redemption remaster? No, I don't think so. Because one, I think it would have been out by now to promote hype for Red Dead 2 more so than there already was. And two, there is already it's not really a remaster, but it's a upscaled port of Red Dead 1 with all the bonus content like Undead Nightmare and all that stuff on the Xbox One. Unfortunately, not on the PlayStation 4. I know that kind of sucks. But my main God damn it. Maddie Brew on Twitch. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following. We are now at 20 followers on Twitch. Hey. Now all I need to do is get these bits. Which I honestly don't know what these bits are on Twitch. I don't know what bits are. God, my throat. I'm gonna get some water after this. Yeah, I definitely need some water after this. Excuse me, guys. But to answer your question, Steven, no, there's not going to be a Red Dead Redemption remaster because it's a little too late. There's already an Xbox One port with upscaled up to 4K. And without going into spoilers, let's just say that when you reach the ending of this game, you'll realize why they didn't remaster Red Dead, the original Red Dead. All right. Honestly, after finishing the game, I'm like, oh, that's why there's no remaster. Yeah. What dates? What dates are you talking about, Alex? Oh no, I didn't say dates. I said bits on Twitch. if that's what you thought I said. I think. Red Dead Redemption 3, not anytime soon. We're probably looking at nearly another decade for that. No Red Dead 3 anytime soon. No GTA 6 anytime soon, because they just finished Red Dead 2. You know, you saw how much work they put into that. And I guess I'll address this now. They're going to have to research and think long and hard for a GTA 6. Reason why is because of the current social and political climate we're in now. There's some things that are in GTA 4 and GTA 5 that I honestly do not think they can get away with a GTA 6 now in 2018, or God forbid whenever it comes out, 2021, 2022. The world is just so PC now and so ready, and everybody's got a phone, everybody's got an opinion. So being able to jump on that Twitter and on that Facebook, it's just so easy to bring somebody down or say something that, or have something changed that, and I'm talking about extremists. I'm not exactly talking about SJWs, but just extremists from every angle, conservatives, liberals, left, right, etc. Doesn't matter. People who just are crazy, you know, they fester together and they can easily create an outcry that I would, and I think recently in an interview, Dan Houser from Rockstar said, "Yeah, we are actually kind of scared right now to make a GTA 6 because of where we're at right now, socially and politically. That right now they just don't know what they would do, because like I said, there's certain things in GTA 5 and in GTA 4, at least if we throw it in there, that will just not fly at all right now in a GTA game. So." I was just thinking about GTA 6. Where is it going to be located? Back to Vice City or London? It would be kind of neat if we went to London. Actually, it would be the safer route with London, because in London, there's certain things that they can kind of comment on without ever worrying about offending too many people. Like I mentioned, like I said, with everything being so PC. And it would be kind of neat that it would be kind of like a twofer. It would be a GTA 6 in London where they could avoid as much of the current stuff that's happening here in America in 2018, in the climate that we're in, and it could serve as a remake / reboot of the series, considering that I believe the original GTA took place in London. The very first GTA, and I think GTA 2, which were like the top-down ones, before we went three-dimensional in GTA 3. And as you can tell, my voice is already starting to lose itself. All right. Okay, so it does look like I'm about to give my wrap up here for my review of Red Dead, my live review, my first ever live review of Red Dead Redemption 2. So, all in all, yes, I do have some nitpicks, and one of them actually, I almost kind of forgot about it. The cores, yeah. So the cores, they're not great. They're not terrible. They really are not terrible. In fact, none of the gameplay mechanics are bad. But there's a couple that didn't need to be there that I'm like, okay, you know, I'm glad it's there, but I'm never going to use this. Like hunting down certain pelts. I'm glad to see that some folks out there are taking some enjoyment out of that, especially if they want to 100% the game. Not me necessarily. I do not see myself whatsoever doing any of those particular activities, especially some of the stranger missions where ever so often a guy would be like, oh yes, collect me 5 plumes of each of these species. I'm like, yeah, you could take those plumes and shove them up your ass, because I'm not doing them. Let's see. Like I said, some other numeric stuff. I'm not gonna do every single bounty. I did a handful of bounties to gain some extra money. It's cool that these bounties, however, do have some of their own cutscenes, so that was pretty cool. There were even some stranger interactions that weren't on the wiki guide that I was like, okay, I stumbled across this, and I'm glad that I've managed to finish it. But other stuff I know that I'm never ever gonna do, like some of those numerics things, and like I said, hunting down certain legendary animals, and just doing a couple of the side activities where it's like, oh, you get the highest score in poker, stuff like that. No. No, I got my fair share of the game, and I'm glad that the mechanic is in there for me to explore maybe at a future time, but I never really see myself doing this. Especially when it comes to upgrading the cores. Like I said, I didn't really care for the cores. I think whether it be for me or my horse, I think we would have been a little better off without the cores. Like I said, they're not bad, but it's the one gameplay mechanic that I'm like, okay, I guess it's here, it's there, use it if you want, okay, but I'm not gonna focus too much attention onto that. There's even some RPG mechanics that they kind of threw in here that again I still I look at it and go, okay, that was in here. Like Arthur being cold or being hot in certain environments, and that because of that you're required to change your outfits. You need to maintain your weight by eating and drinking efficiently. It's bad enough that I have to deal with that in real life. It's bad enough even more that I have to deal with that in other games that I picked up and then I never bought to finish. Kingdom Come Deliverance, like those realistic RPGs. I Red Dead is not that game. Red Dead is not that game. So I guess you could say that there's certain mechanics in here where they were trying to strive for some really hard-hitting realism. But they never really established a strong enough pedigree with the prior Red Dead game and with the past GTA games that I'm like, it just feels a little jarring for them to include mechanics in here that are very realistic RPG like, and yet I just don't think all of us are really gonna take full advantage of. I'm glad that they're in there, but you know, another one, without going into spoilers, another little RPG mechanic is catering to the camp. Like leveling up the camp, giving everybody else good provisions, you know, leveling up the Mr. Pearson's wagon so you can create better foods, better ammunition, etc., around the camp, better tents. And then, of course, funding the camp overall, donating items, donating money, etc. Let's just say that by the end of the game, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't donate that much shit because it's not going to matter. Yeah, like I said, no spoilers there, but it that just serves as a really good, strong metaphor for certain mechanics of the game where I'm just like, I really don't think that there's any point to this. I'm glad that it's here. It doesn't hurt that it's here, but why I'm not gonna use it. I don't know how many other of you guys managed to use some of those mechanics, like the core system, donating to the camp, leveling up the camp, leveling up Arthur's weight, maintaining his attire to make sure he's not too cold, too hot. And then other times there were some cosmetic things that I really wanted to take full advantage of, but because of how realistic the game was trying to do, like how many outfits you could put on your horse, where I would continue to lose my hat. And sure, you could recover it from your horse, but I would just lose my hat entirely, and I would have to ride all the way back to my camp or back to the nearest tailor to grab my hat again. It's just be so frustrating. Steven, it seems like no matter what I eat, even if I eat the stew on the camp every single day, I was always underweight, but I'm still doing okay in the game. I would go to the nearest town or the nearest city like Saint Denis, Valentine, or whatever. I would go to the saloons and eat full course meals like a lobster bisque, which honestly looked kind of delicious. But I would still be underweight, and I would just keep eating it. And yeah, like you said, I would eat the stew and still underweight. I don't know, maybe it's because I was sprinting too quickly or whatever, but again, I just personally don't feel like it really affects the grand scheme of things in the game. So I don't know, that's just me. But like I said, that certain mechanics, cool that they're there, but I just didn't personally use them. So I just felt like maybe they were bloating the game just a smidget there. Saturn's Lost Brother is now following you on Twitch. Matty Brew is now following me on Twitch. So wait, are we at 21 now? Yes, we are on 21. Guys, thank you so much. We are now at 21 followers on Twitch. 21 followers. So what is it? 29 more until 50? That's so far my accumulation there. Again, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, follow me on Twitch right now. But even though I didn't use those mechanics, I still feel like they had enough in the game for me to do. I just wish that it was a little easier to grow my beard because for some reason Arthur clean shaven just didn't strike right to me. As I mentioned in my review in progress, I always wanted him to have a mustache. He just looked more wholesome with the mustache. And especially when his character started to transform psychologically as the game progressed. I don't know. I just felt like his mustache fit a bit more. But because of how realistic the game was trying to be, you can't just put on the mustache. You can't put on the mustache. You can't put on specific hairstyles. You actually have to grow them. Now, of course, the hours and the time that the way time goes in this game is not real life. You know, like a second in real life is like a minute or like 5 minutes in the game. So it only takes a few minutes for like a whole hour to go by in the game. That, you know, that day and night cycle is just gonna progress. And every time you load up the game, his hair, whether it be the hair on his head or his facial hair, would grow. And if you want to grow even further, there's hair tonics you can take. But I'm like, man, I want a mustache. And yet the game's like, well, you have to grow it. Oh, damn it. So every time you trim your hair or your facial hair, you better be prepared for having it to grow back, because you're not going to be able to bring it back until you actually grow it. And again, it just goes into those aspects of the game that were trying to be a little too realistic, and it just didn't work 100% only because of the aesthetic of this game and the prior games Rockstar has made with GTA 5, Red Dead 1, GTA 4, that it just didn't work. It wasn't bad, but I was just like, okay. So Steven even mentioned, can you imagine God of War if you had to feed Kratos? What would he eat? Children. So with that said, I'm bringing my Red Dead Redemption 2 review to a close by saying that, yeah, this is without a doubt one of the best games of the year. From a technological standpoint, it is a marvel. From a story standpoint, it was able to do something that very few people are able, or very few creators are able to do, whether it be in the gaming landscape or in the movie landscape, which is to create a compelling prequel that makes you go, oh, yes, I want to know more about these characters prior to the original. Like, you didn't know that you wanted to know more about those characters before the events of the original, but here you have it, and then the more you get started, the more you're just rolling with it. And it's because the way that they were able to stretch it across a 60-hour time frame that it works best. And that's why often prequel movies don't do as well. Books are probably the next best thing, or maybe even prequel stories. Actually, no, prequel series handle it just finely. In fact, there's actually a prequel series going on right now that actually is great. Some would even argue it's better than the original. I wouldn't go that far. I think it's as great as the original, but it's because it's in its own beast. And that's Better Call Saul, the Breaking Bad prequel. Because it's a series and they're able to make full seasons where every episode breaks a certain part of that story down. It works. Movies, not so much. And that's where Red Dead 2 is able to succeed as a prequel, is because it takes its time with every single part of its game, every single part of the game, whether it be from a story angle, from a gameplay angle, from a visual angle, where it's trying to reward you for how you are investigating the environment and checking out the landscapes and checking out just how much detail they were able to put into the immersion, into the environment, that this feels like it's alive. And very few games are able to warrant that full $60 price tag. But here, this is definitely one of those games that's definitely worth the full $60. I will even go as far as that if you have the extra money to spare, go and get the ultimate, or not the ultimate edition, but at least a special edition that comes with like a little bonus map of the states. And it comes with like a bonus robbery mission that you can do and bonus stuff like that, because even that, I think, is worth the full, I think it's $80. That's worth the whole $80, because of the amount of hours you can kind of just lose yourself in this game. Now, again, I did mention some nitpicks where, yes, it can be tediously slow at times, though it is rewarding, and some characters start to repeat themselves upon their motives or their ideologies or, goddamn, their own lines of dialogue. I'll see what I can do. we need money. It does get a little recycled there at the end. And gameplay wise, like I said, there's some mechanics that didn't need to be in here. They're not bad that they're in here, but they just didn't need to be here. And maybe they could have just taken that effort and put it in some other things that would have been even cooler, such as better ways to, kind of bring about that Deadeye, and just how to make sure my horse doesn't crash into the smallest thing. But at least they made for some entertaining moments. As it stands, Red Dead Redemption 2, very much critic proof, and the sales definitely show for it, and the critical praise it's been receiving, 10s almost across the board from so many outlets, prove it. Does it get a 10 from me? No. But it's without doubt one of the best games of the year. I can't put a rating on here. I did not prepare long enough to put a rating up on the screen, even though I can technically do so with a little scorecard thing on OBS. I'm not going to... God damn it. I could have done it. I don't have time right now. I'm really badly prepared. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can go into Photoshop here. I'm going to see if I can go in Photoshop here and create one. Real quick. While I create that, I'm going to say that, yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games of the year. Definitely in the top 5. But the ranking is as it stands. And I guess this is for those of you who are watching the stream. You guys are lucky. You guys are getting a sneak preview, kind of, sort of, into my top 5 games of 2018 stream/video that I might make towards the end of the year, after I've played a couple of more games, because I do have some more games to play. I want to play Celeste on the Switch. I want to play Smash Brothers on the Switch, definitely. And then I want to play, after that, there's a couple that I want to play before the year's end. Far Cry 5, maybe? And then maybe Ni no Kuni 2. There's a couple of others that I would love to play, but I'm pretty certain I'm not going to be able to get into it. Like Dead Cells, Octopath Traveler, forget about it. What else? Okay, there we go. Yeah, so some games, they're just not going to make it in terms of what I'm going to try to play at the end of the year. But Far Cry 5, Ni no Kuni 2, that's really about it for the remaining of the year. And I got to be honest, I still kind of doubt that those games are going to break my top 5. Celeste, maybe. Celeste, maybe. It's a big maybe. But, actually, I got to resize this. Fuck. And I just dropped my phone. Excuse me, guys. Damn it. I'm fudging things up. Okay, here we go. You guys are ready for my rating, for my final verdict on Red Dead Redemption 2? Give me a second. I'm just dropping a shadow up on this bitch. Okay. So let's copy that layer. Paste it on that layer. Fuck. There we go. Alright. Save it as a PNG. Load it up into OBS. And you guys will see my rating. But sneak preview into my top 5 games of the year so far. And chances are this is how it's going to stay by the end of the year. Unless Celeste proves that differently. And so far my top 5 is as follows. And let me jump back in here. So 2 people still following me on. Alright, 1 person following me there. Okay. Sit. Oh no, I just opened Steam by accident. Okay, so let me load up into OBS. Jump into here, add an image. Okay. So far, actually, you know what? Let me add my rating first, and then you guys will know what I'm talking about. But let me see. Where is it? All right, you guys are ready? All right, I'm gonna give no sound effect. I can't add a sound effect unless I were to play it off the computer. But my rating for Red Dead Redemption 2 is a low 9 out of 10. As you see right there. That's it for Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a low 9 out of 10. Could have been a solid 9 out of 10 if maybe, like I said, some of the mechanics for the controls were tweaked and, you know, those nitpicks that I had with the story. But all in all, yes, it's a definite 9 out of the game. In fact, I might be convinced to just give it a flat 9 out of 10. It might just be a regular 9 out of 10. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I just switched on a dime just now. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Excuse me. There we go. Should have changed now. Did you change? Alright. It's a solid 9 out of 10. It's a solid 9 out of 10. Despite my nitpicks that I mentioned. And with that said, my top 5 games of 2018 so far. So far. Because again, I'm planning on playing Celeste, Smash Brothers, Ni no Kuni 2, and Far Cry 5, hopefully for the remainder of the year before year's end. But here's my sneak preview at my top 5 games of 2018 that I might do at the end of this year. And like I said, and I got to be honest, out of those 4 games that I'm planning on playing, I think Celeste and maybe Smash Brothers, but I doubt Smash Brothers, even though I'm super excited for Smash Brothers. You guys do not know how stoked I am for Smash Brothers. I don't see it as a game of the year contender only because it's primarily it's Smash Brothers. It's like its own thing, you know what I mean? It doesn't have the full package that these other games had. And these other games are in my top 5 in this particular order. Number 5, Monster Hunter World, even though I have not finished it. I'm literally at the end. I'm literally in like the last 4 quests or the last 4 monsters I have to hunt down, or the last 3 and then the final mission, and that's it. So you can say I've beaten like 90% of the game. But Monster Hunter World, and I'm definitely going to wrap that up hopefully in the coming 2 weeks or so. And my voice is just completely going away now. Monster Hunter World. Number 4, Detroit Become Human, because I genuinely love the story that I was able to craft for myself based on my choices. More so than I would even say the recent or the latest Telltale games before all that happened. Detroit Become Human at number 4. Number 3 is going to be Red Dead 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 falls at number 3. So that means that as biased as it's going to sound, because I'm a PlayStation fanboy and also I'm biased towards this character, number 2 is God of War, and number 1 is Spider-Man. Number 1 is still Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man still holds the one thing that I was not able to do with either Red Dead Redemption 2 or even God of War. And that is the strong urge to want to go back to the game, buy the DLC so I can play those 2 chapters and play the 3rd one when that comes out. And furthermore, 100% the game, which I'm actually kind of close to. I'm like at 80-something% total completion. And I'm only that much closer to 100% of the game and getting the Platinum Trophy. And this would be my first ever Platinum Trophy. And from what I can tell, it's so many other people's first Platinum Trophies. Like, so many people have Platinumed Spider-Man, because it's actually not that hard of a platinum compared to other games. Like, I understand that. There's some other games that are really much harder to platinum, that when you platinum, it's like a big thing to kind of boast about. With Spider-Man, I remember about two, maybe 3 weeks into September after it came out, September 7th, so around September 28th, 29th, towards the end of the month, so many people on Twitter were posting screenshots of their platinums. And from what I could tell, I looked at that and I was like, something tells me this is going to be one of those games that's actually rather easy to platinum. Oops, sorry, bumped the mic. Yeah, it's rather easy to platinum. And when we say easy, I don't mean easy, just, it's a little time consuming, but it's very accessible for so many gamers, myself included. So I'm like, if Spider-Man comes number one, it's gonna be because of Stan Lee. I hope Red Dead is number one, though. Yeah, sorry, my top 5 games of the year so far. It could change, but so far, top 5 games of the year is number 5, Monster Hunter World. Number 4, Detroit Become Human. Number 3 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 2 is God of War, and number 1 is Spider-Man. Quite frankly, though, to respond to your comment, Maryland Boy 410, it's not because of Stan Lee, although R.I.P. Stan Lee. But it's not because of Stan Lee. It's, like I said, my number 1 reason is because this is one of the few games. This is so far the only game in recent memory that I actually want to go back to, and 100%. I never want 100% a game. There's so many games where the game says, oh, collect all these things, and I'm almost like, fuck you, I'm not going to do all that. It's too much. The Riddler trophies from Batman, every tiny little thing to do here in Red Dead 2, But Spider-Man, because of the fact that I'm able to swing around the city so easily and freely, it's just so accessible to want to do that platinum. So, because I'm motivated very strongly to do a platinum for Spider-Man, that's the easy number 1 for me. If it wasn't for that, then honestly, I would say God of War and Spider-Man are tied. I wouldn't be able to call it. But what Spider-Man has over God of War is that very tangible balance of being able to give us a very attainable platinum or 100% completion to get to. God of War, not so much, because you have to kill those Valkyries, and those Valkyries, they don't look nice, and they don't look like they play nice. So with that said, thank you guys all for tuning in to my first ever live review of a video game, or live review in general, for Red Dead Redemption 2. As you can see, my rating is 9 out of 10, a very solid 9 out of 10. Started off as a low 9 out of 10, and the more I talked about it, the more I'm like, you know what, yeah, this is a solid 9 out of 10. However, it's not necessarily my favorite game of the year, but it's definitely one of the best of the year and one of my favorites of the year. Definitely top 5 material. There's no way to kind of get around to it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, all of you. Alex21 Ginger, Stephen Bailey, Maryland Boy 410, Jaden Peraza, and then over on Twitch, whoever joined in on Twitch, a couple of you folks, Maddie Brew X, Maddie Bro, that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for tuning in on Twitch. All of you guys, thank you so much for you guys' support. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button. Excuse me. If you guys are watching on YouTube, go follow me on Twitch. I'm live on Twitch right now. Twitch.tv/DarkSpiderDavid is exactly the same. Exactly the same username. Just go on over there, hit the follow button. I'm trying to reach 50 followers at the moment, and then from there we'll go from there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess you could say. But you might be seeing some exclusive streams on Twitch. That's all I'm saying. So follow me on Twitch over there. Make sure to follow me also on all their social media platforms. As you can see right here, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's all under Dark Spider David, as you see spelled out right there. The follower goal, it says 19, but we're actually now at 21 out of 50, so 29 more to go. That's cool. And please post in the comments what you guys think of this format, doing a live review by responding to your guys' comments as they come during the actual live feed. I think it's kind of cool. Not to jump ahead of myself here, but it could be potentially the future for my channel. only because there might be some things that I might want to start devoting some time to, and maybe kind of take the time that I would towards editing and then putting it towards live streaming, so that then I can have some spare time to hopefully start writing screenplays, short films, things that I want to actually do with my life. So I don't know, just food for thought. But please let me know your guys' food for thought in the comments. Make sure you like and share, and of course subscribe on YouTube for when more live streams are going to happen. Hit the notification button so that you know when I'm live, when I'm posting a video, when a premiere is happening, so that whenever I post a video and a premiere is going on, I might be able to interact with some of you guys in the live feed as the video plays. Who knows? Besides that, please, again, I really want some feedback on this format. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm now going to go drink a gallon of water because my throat really, really, really needs it. But again, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm hoping that this was some form of a success, but at the same time, only practice makes the perfects. So until next time, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in once more, and I will catch you guys all on the next stream or on the next video. It's up to you guys. Take care.